my god. Okay, hi. Yeah, it's been a really long time. I actually don't really know how to start this, and also I recognize that my glasses keeps catching the glare of the light. I can't think of what to say, but I'm not gonna cut it and start over because then I'll just end up doing that 1,000 times. But yes, this is very awkward. I haven't been on camera in a really sort of long time. I did a couple of streams with friends like Kelly Ty and that sort of thing, but it's been a minute and a lot has changed. But we are coming up on the end of the year, and I did promise to at least attempt to put out a video before the end of the year because, well, it's been 6 months now. I don't know how to open anymore, actually. So, hi, I'm Lynn. I'm Lynn D. Jung, that's the name of this channel, and I'm a science fiction and fantasy writer, and this is the YouTube channel that I've abandoned for 6 months and I'm now crawling back to. Nothing really happened. I just kind of stopped having time to make and edit videos, specifically sit down and film them. So I just kind of took a breather. So I figured I'd jump right back into it with an easy sort of video and just kind of talk, because that's the easiest thing you can do. I wanted to talk about my 2022 writing goals and kind of also do a 2021 writing reflection as well. Because it's been a year. Weirdly enough, I feel 2020, which was, the big year that everyone fucking hates, was more productive for me in terms of writing, which is what? But 2021 was definitely a stagnation year for me. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. What I just wanted to say, moving forward in terms of this channel and all that, is that I don't really know how frequent my uploading is going to be. I'm going to make more of an effort, but between this and, writing books, and I now have a travel blog if anyone's interested in travel writings. I don't think anyone is. I mainly did it for me. It is definitely difficult to sort of focus on this. So I'm not going to try to do weekly uploads or bi-weekly uploads. I'm just sort of going to upload when something occurs to me or when inspiration strikes. And I hope that's okay. I know that frequent uploading is a thing you're supposed to do to build your channel or whatever, but I don't really care about that. My main New Year's resolution is to just kind of do whatever I want and not really worry so much about results or outcome, which is something that I've struggled with in the past. So yeah, I'm just doing what I want with this channel, and that's kind of how it's gonna be. So looking back on the year that has occurred, this year felt really long and really short at the same time. I went back to school, in-person classes, a couple, not even 3 months ago, and that was honestly just a huge, I forgot how tiring it is to go to classes in person, to have to actually sit and listen for a whole hour or more, and to walk to classes. That is so annoying. I spend 3 hours per day just walking places, and that's super dumb. So for sure, I definitely didn't write as much as I wanted to starting in September when school started, but even before then I was just kind of not having a really good, I'd say somewhere around summer I just kind of lost motivation to write because I'd been on submission for a really long time, frankly, and I was ugh, no one's gonna buy this freaking book, so it doesn't matter. And then I got some really interesting news, and I ended up being able to do a really big major overhaul on this book that has been on sub for such a long time, and that during the time that it's been on submission, I was just able to see my growth. The first time I read it through, I was oh, I know exactly how to fix all this and how to make it better. I got the chance to do that revision, and nothing's come of it as of right now, but just being able to do that revision was a gift because it just showed me how much I'd grown as a writer, and I got to work with a story that I've been working on for over half my life, and I just had a really, really solid, good time with it. Yeah, so that is one thing that I was working on for the latter half of the year, I'd say, a decent amount of time. Now that I'm thinking about it, most of what I did this year was revision, because I also technically did the all the revising for my young adult fantasy inspired by Korean myths and legends or whatever the hell. And that one is basic. That one is almost ready to go out. So yeah, that's kind of how I finished this year. One project revised on sub, one project fully revised and ready for sub when sub is ready for it. It's not that I didn't get anything done, it's just that I feel creatively I was very stuck because I just had to spend pretty much all my time revising, and when I wasn't revising, I was doing school or work or something else. And so I didn't have a ton of time to work on projects that I have felt have been calling to me, which is a different issue in regards to the fact that I haven't really felt a project called to me in a while. So yeah, a lot of time revising, not a lot of time drafting, some time outlining and like deciding what I want to do next, but not a ton. Yeah, so 2021 just felt like a repeat year for me. Like it was just kind of slow. It felt like I was treading water and not really getting anywhere, even though, you know, like logically speaking, I was putting in the work to make these projects good enough to hopefully get picked up. So with that in mind, with the fact that 2021 was a huge like revision, revisiting, learning, growing year, I am super excited to actually tackle like new projects this year. I mean, fingers crossed, you kind of never know what happens, but I am sick of revising the same like 2 young adult books right now. I really have been wanting to write adult for a long time. Like my past couple NaNoWriMo projects, not this year's because I was revising, but the past couple have been adult projects, and it's been super frustrating because I had that adult historical fantasy that I was really passionate about and like ready to write. I got a good chunk of the way through, and I just realized I wasn't like ready for it because I was working, drafting, figuring things out, and I just was like, I haven't done enough research. Like this is a project that requires a lot of careful research, a lot of like intense focus on the politics and the geography and the history leading up to and following this time period, because it is Japanese occupation. It has to be handled sensitively, even though it is fantasy, like as realistically as I can manage. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really in a place where I can do like 6 to 8 to 12 months of research on this right now, and I really want to, because I want to do this project justice. Like, if I'm going to write this book, I want to write it to the best of my ability, and so I stopped. I just kind of like shelved it. It's very like near and dear to my heart, and I do want to work on it again as soon as I possibly can, but right now I just don't feel ready to tackle it. So I am kind of shifting focus to a different adult book, adult fantasy. I think I've mentioned it. I know I went through like the bullet journal that I crafted for it, which is the like alchemy book. That's what I've been calling it. That one has been also a struggle, mostly because I couldn't connect with the characters in the same way. The plot and the setting really sprang fully formed into my mind, and all the like world building aspects, but the characters have been really fuzzy and they don't feel like real people to me. I've been kind of like trying to create characters with more dimension, like work on the sort of bits and pieces that I had already, trying to just form them into more like realistic, believable people so that their actions and, you know, like selves can contribute more to the plot and just be like a more well-rounded, you know what I'm saying? Like I want it to all be cohesive. I want every element to be as strong as it can be. I don't really like plot-focused books as much, so I try to steer clear of them, and I think that's what's really been bothering me is I had this like murder mystery plot, very intricately designed, and then I forgot to do character work, and now I'm like, well, it just feels like a game of Clue. It's like Mr. Mustard in room 1 or whatever. Colonel Mustard? I don't think I've ever played a game of Clue. That can't be. Anyway, it just felt like these chess pieces. They're not characters, they're not people, they're just sort of like moving across the board in the way that I like. And I think that is an issue with very tightly plotted, especially like thriller, mystery type plot structures, even though this is a fantasy. Y'all know I like to play with genre. This is what I'm doing. So that is going to be a focus for me moving forward this year, just like working on those characters, developing them, letting them marinate, and figuring out how they slot into this plot and this world and how their messy little lives are gonna like fuck each other up. I'd say that is probably going to be my main drafting work in progress moving forward, is that adult alchemy fantasy. The only thing is I'm a really slow drafter. It does have a very tight outline, which is helpful when it comes to like my pace in drafting, but I also tend to rewrite and restructure as I go, which I think is going to literally be the death of me. But my soft goal is to just sort of be done with like a first rough draft by the middle of the year. We'll see how that goes. The weird thing about this year is that I am graduating school, which Jesus. But I am taking a little extra time because I technically could graduate in about 6 months, but I'm studying abroad. So I won't be really graduating until like December, so a year from now. But like I'm done with school, so it's really weird. So I'll have like bits and pieces of free time for like months at a time. Like this summer, for the first time ever, all I'm gonna be doing is working, which isn't exactly free time, but it's like slightly less than working and school and working multiple jobs. I'm hoping to have a little bit more free time to like really draft and be creative and do the things that I want to do. So while my only like hard goal is to finish the first draft of that adult fantasy by sometime in the middle of or toward the end of this year, I also want to focus on developing other projects that I've had on the back burner for like a really long time. One of them is this like young adult retelling that I don't really want to talk about that much because it is such like a little, it's like a pinky finger amount of development. Like there is not enough going on in my head or in the project for me to like actually talk about it at length. But there is a young adult project that I've been wanting to work on that my agent also recommended that I work on. I want to write more adult for sure. I want to like start researching for that historical fantasy that I had to shelve. I'm also like, this is just like a figment of an idea, it's not even a goal, but lately I've gotten really weirdly into history, but like weird history, like the gold rush and California history in general, but also like Vikings and like Norse mythology and like Arthurian legend. That's not really history, but you know, like history and myths and legends and that sort of thing. And I really want to write historical fiction. But I don't know what. Like, there's so many different time periods that appeal to me, and of course I'm going to, like, drizzle a little fantasy in there, so I kind of can do whatever, but oh my gosh, I'm so, like, intrigued by history. Like, the historical fantasy adult book was just the start, and I fell down the rabbit hole, and now I am like, ooh, Romans. I've always been kind of like a history geek, but it never has been as intense as right now. I feel like I'm hitting a quarter life crisis. That's kind of what it feels like. Like I've been going to museums, which I never do, and just like taking notes on things that interest me. So yeah, historical fiction at some point, somewhere. Historical fantasy again, probably. But it's actually been kind of cool because even though I don't have a solid project in mind to like scratch this historical itch, I've been feeling like reinvigorated. I want to, you know, come up with new ideas and new characters and dive into these settings and like I actually want to write again, which frankly hasn't been the case for kind of a couple months now. So that's another goal, is to just start like looking into historical stuff, probably reading more historical fiction. Another goal of mine is to just like read more broadly. I did not read a ton this year. I think I read under 25 books, but I read more books of quality. Like I picked up more actual favorites this year than I have in any other year previous, which has been nice. I've definitely like strayed away from the young adult section. It just hasn't been doing it for me. I think frankly like the prose, like, okay, hold on. This is the culprit. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. This book and the prose just kind of like ruined all other prose for me. Yeah, this did it. So now I can't read books that aren't lyrically or nicely poetically written anymore. Like it's gotten to the point where I'm like looking at my own writing, kind of like, you only know 5 words. Yeah, definitely I've been leaning more toward literary fiction, which also has led to me, you know, engaging in more like short form stuff. Yeah, I just sort of like dipped my toes in that barely, but we'll see where that goes, because I still like only want to write fantasy because I only can write fantasy. But I also have started, you know, this travel blog, and this is another goal of mine, is to write more things for myself, like specifically short form things. And this travel blog is by no means like, it's not a lit magazine, it's not fancy or anything, but I just want to like, you know, travel around and write some like short form creative nonfiction or just musings, ramblings, whatever, and like have it be for me and not with the intent to like publish or make money or that sort of thing, because that's been a lot of pressure. Yeah, so creating that space for myself has been really nice. There's just like one post up on there. It's like the most annoying thing I've ever written in my life. You know what? I had fun writing it, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I guess that's kind of like it in terms of goals, is to just write this one fucking book. Just to write a book at this point. Like, oh my god, do I even remember how to do this? I am anticipating having like slightly more free time to pursue these like outside creative interests that are for me, so the channel and the blog, but yeah, I really need to get that book done. So I guess that's kind of it. Those are my goals for 2022. If you have any writing goals or general goals as well, just drop them in the comments below. If you have any book recommendations that are anything like this one, tell me, because I need it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for like returning to this channel after its long sleep, if you will. Happy writing, and I'll see you guys soon.